It's only January and 2026 already has us brewing a ton of tea. Piping hot. So today I'm testing controversial celebrities' recipes pulled straight from the drama. We have mom group drama, we have messy divorces, and nepo baby nonsense. I'm making the recipes from both sides, and I'm gonna test them based on effort and taste. And by the end, we'll decide who actually deserves an invite back to the dinner table. Starting with Ashley Tisdale and Hilary Duff and mom group situation. Ashley Tisdale wrote a whole article about this toxic mom group that she left behind because she felt iced out. No names were dropped, but the internet did its thing and found out it was Hilary Duff and her mom group of friends in LA, and everybody had an opinion. But we'll get to that later because we're gonna start off with Ashley Tisdale's fairy pancakes. So her pancake actually looks pretty good. It's a mesh between pancakes and a birthday cake, and of course she uses cake mix. So in a large bowl, she starts by adding her cake mix, some flour, sugar, baking powder, and a little bit of salt. Now just whisk it all up until it's nice and mixed through. I've actually never seen anybody use cake mix for pancakes before, so this could either be genius or it could be a total disaster. So we haven't really heard much from Ashley Tisdale in recent years, and in one of my videos I mentioned that she's just living this quiet life enjoying her High School Musical success, but here we are. Now let's mix the wet ingredient. We have some milk, an egg, and we're gonna eyeball in some vanilla extract. Let's whisk that up. Okay, now I'm going to pour the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients, and we're just gonna mix it until it's slightly still lumpy. I'd say so far the batter looks pretty good, though I feel like with cake mix, you have to whisk it up so much that I'm not really sure if this is gonna turn out or not. Let me just make sure I get it nice and fluffy. Let's cook it up. So she cooks her pancakes on a griddle, so I'm just gonna do mine on a cast iron pan, and she greases it up with some coconut oil. So a lot of people are on Ashley's side because her core message is actually pretty relatable and universal. She's basically saying this doesn't feel safe for me anymore and I'm gonna step away. She mentioned there were a lot of unanswered texts, private hangouts, a whole vibe shift, very high school. So this is hot enough. I'm gonna pour in a scoop of the batter, add some of our sprinkles right on top, and then let it bubble up. Cute. Okay, so we know the pancakes are done once they start to bubble on the edges. Got a few bubbles here, waiting for more to come, but it's definitely smelling like a birthday cake. Oh, a little bit on the burnt side, but that's okay. The first pancake is never perfect. I think a big reason why people defended Ashley is because she didn't actually call any names out and she didn't specifically point fingers. She just talked about the dynamics and the internet filled in the blanks. But whether or not you think you should go write a whole article about it is up for debate. You know what this tells me? I need a bigger pan. Other celebrities even chimed in, with Dylan Efron, Zac Efron's brother from High School Musical, even went on TV saying she's always been sweet and he can't imagine her being a villain. Hence, our fairy pancakes. Perfect golden lacy pancake. Okay, we got our fairy pancake stack here, but before we can dig in, we have to make her fairy pancake glaze, which is basically just some powdered sugar, a splash of milk, some vanilla extract. Now I'm just gonna pour the glaze right on top of the pancakes and hit it with more sprinkles. And that does look pretty good for breakfast, but would I prefer maple syrup over this? We'll see. Ooh, it does look nice and fluffy. It's giving funfetti vibes. Okay, let's try it. Wait, I actually really like cake mix in here. How have I never thought of this before? New life hack, because you don't need to buy pancake batter, you can just buy cake batter and make this. It's nice and fluffy, light, not too sweet, which is actually really good, and I don't mind the powdered sugar. Not bad, Miss Ashley, but let's see how your food compares to Hilary Duff's. And this is the part where the internet went into full detective mode, because in that mom group picture, there's so many celebrities. Hilary Duff, Mandy Moore, Meghan Trainor, but people pinpointed Hilary Duff specifically, probably because her husband Matthew Coma posted on Instagram story his version mocking Ashley Tisdale's article. And then we were all fully locked in. And I found a recipe that Hilary Duff made with one of the people in that mom group Gabi Dalkin, who also happens to be a chef food blogger. So we'll go ahead and test Hillary's side. We're making an herb-crusted roasted turkey breast, except it's not Thanksgiving anymore and I could only find a chicken, and this is ginormous, so let's start. So Gabi starts by having Hillary de-stem their herbs. We're just gonna be using rosemary, thyme, and sage, and then chopping them up really finely. Okay, let's transfer our herbs to a bowl. Then she crushes in some garlic cloves with her handy dandy garlic press. To finish seasoning it, they add in some fancy Maldon sea salt, ground black pepper, zest of a lemon, and olive oil. They go straight in with their fingers to mix it up. Savages. And honestly, why not? Because we're just gonna grab some of this and tuck it underneath the chicken's membrane skin and rub it all over. Okay, that actually looks pretty good and pretty low effort if you ask me. Hopefully it's low effort, high rewards. Okay, but now we have to transfer it onto a roasting pan that she lines with onions. I guess this helps it rest a little better, and then this releases more flavor into the chicken. Transfer it in, and then they fill the bottom with wine, and I realize I don't have any, so I'm gonna use chicken broth. That's good. Now let's pop this in the oven while I spill more tea. So while the chicken is roasting, they also make this butter lemon basting liquid, which I'll add halfway through, but we're just gonna combine butter, lemon, and stock. But back to the gossip. People close to the friend group describe it as just a normal friend drift where people sometimes just stop hanging out. There's a misalignment in values, which is a whole different discussion, and priorities have shifted rather than some big dramatic fallout. And Hillary has yet to speak up even though her husband has. So even if she had nothing to do with this, the timing is pretty wild because this is the month where she released new music, has her comeback tour, and her name is getting pushed out even harder, all because of this drama. Because let's face it, everybody loves some good gossip. Okay, so it looks like our basting liquid is done, and I'm just gonna brush it on the chicken halfway through. Meghan Trainor, who's also supposedly part of this group, went on to make a whole TikTok saying, "I swear I'm innocent," and she's just over here on the sidelines making herself a snack. She has some mashed avocado, get a little bit of lemon juice in there. Then she takes a rice cake, spread the avocado right on top, hit it with some salt and pepper, and then for a nice tangy crunch, some pickled red onions right on top. Because Meghan is all about that base, no trouble. I actually might like this rice cake better than sourdough. And our chicken is finally done. The pan looks like it's been through a war, but at least the chicken looks good. Let's transfer our chicken to a plate. And I just have no idea how I'm gonna get all of this off. And I feel like with a chicken breast this big, it needs to be carved kind of like a turkey, but I'm just gonna try the end piece right here. And she looks so juicy. The skin is crispy. Wow. Let's see how Hillary's mom group chicken compares. That is a delicious piece of chicken. It's juicy, it's flavorful, it's herby, a little buttery. And I bet this would pair really well with Meghan Trainor's rice cake. But while this chicken and avocado cracker toast was so good, I also have to really give props to this fairy pancakes because it was also delicious in its own unique way. Can't we all just get along? This is gonna be a really hard decision, but I do need sustenance over dessert. So I'm gonna have to go with Hillary and the mom group for a seat at the dinner table. The tea is getting hot, so we need to cool things down a little bit. This is Olipop. It's a new kind of soda that gives you that classic soda taste, but it's made with a functional ingredient blend that supports digestive health. You guys already know that I love Olipop and I use it so often in my videos. And right now they have a limited edition flavor, the Shirley Temple. It tastes like fizzy, cherry, citrusy, nostalgia with that classic Shirley Temple sweetness, but brighter and more refreshing. And it's still a fun drink that has high fiber from the prebiotics and and lower sugar to boot. And there's a whole lineup of delicious flavors. These are just some of my favorites. If you want to try Olipop, click the link in the description box or scan the QR code right here for the free can offer. Buy any 2 Olipops and they're gonna reimburse you for 1 can. It works on any flavor at any retailer that carries Olipop, which includes Whole Foods, Walmart, Target. So be sure to grab a can while you can. And let me know which one's your favorite. Thank you to Olipop for sponsoring this part of the video. And now we have Christy Sarah and Desmond Scott, who were literally TikTok sweethearts. She was the fashionable, fun, kind of chaotic one, and he was the husband chef who was kind of always the butt of the joke, but he was making comfort meals for her like it was his love language. Then out of nowhere, Christy filed for divorce citing infidelity. And the internet basically spiraled. On Christy's side, people were saying that he was so checked out and that she was carrying the brand, the relationship, and that she finally chose herself. While other people said she became too much, emasculated him, and he couldn't handle it anymore. But one thing is for sure, she's doing all the cooking by herself. So I found her banana bread recipe right here, and somebody said, this is legit my first time seeing her cooking. They must be done. I think they're done. But let's start with the bananas. And she even has her own hot tip. The recipe calls for really ripe bananas, and her way to ripen the bananas and get them nice and brown is to apparently, she says it bruises them and helps them ripen a little bit. I don't actually know if that's true, but it's her recipe. She adds everything to a mixer, but I think this can all be done by hand, so we're just gonna mash the bananas a little bit. And she's actually using the same banana bread mix right here, which honestly, it couldn't be easier. So we just have to whisk together banana, butter, milk, and syrup together until it's nice and smooth. And she didn't have any milk, and she used some curdly buttermilk, which I guess works in this recipe too, but good thing I have milk, so I'm just gonna use it. Thank goodness for this mix though, because it's pretty much a no-fail recipe, and hers ended up looking pretty good. Now we just dump this in, stir it until it's combined. This mix is looking a little bit dry, but as I keep stirring it, it's coming together. And now we just pour it into a loaf pan like hers and bake it off. I'm just gonna line my loaf pan with some parchment for extra insurance after Hillary's chicken disaster. Apparently the last video she had with Desmond was on December 9th. Somebody said that makes sense because now she's cooking for herself more, no ring and sad eyes. I dislike this so much for her. She was in love, had a family, and now it's all torn. She didn't deserve this. Somebody else said, we don't want no banana bread. We want the truth. So let's explore a little bit of Desmond's side. He's always seemed to be that golden retriever, loving husband, always feeding her like a queen. And then in recent months, people have noticed that he's been so checked out. Her pranks have gotten even more wild, and he's always, like I said, the butt of the joke. And then boom, after the rumors of the divorce, he posted on his IG story to confirm everything, taking ownership of what he did, saying, of course, he's not proud of what he did, asked for privacy, and he's trying to move forward. But he also has this mac and cheese recipe that his wife requested, so let's try it. First, we gotta boil some noodles. So while the pasta's cooking, somebody said maybe he should cook up some loyalty. I'm gonna prep our shallots. Somebody else said following recipes and not your own vows is crazy work. I'm also gonna shred some cheese. He uses truffle cheddar, some Gruyere, and also good old regular cheddar cheese. Not everybody is hating on Desmond though, because there are people saying it's exciting to see him have his own stuff and do what he loves. And honestly, these two have been together since they were 14. I think they're 30 something now. Not excusing his actions by any means, but they got married so young and they didn't have all the fame and the money, and I feel like that's what really changes people. Let's strain the pasta. Okay, now let's make the cheese sauce. He starts by melting some butter. He actually gives us a lot of tips. He says use unsalted butter because we can control the amount of salt that we add in later. And I appreciate all the details that he gives when adding the next ingredient. For example, he says melt the butter, and then when you make the roux, don't let it get dark, which brings me to my next step is that we're gonna add some flour. Let's give it a good mix, and then once it's a nice buttery flour sauce, we'll slowly add in our milk. I'm gonna need to switch to a whisk for this. Okay, I'm gonna let this thicken up a little bit, and then we're gonna add in our cheese, but save a little bit for later because you're gonna need it. Ooh, this is a beautiful looking cheese sauce. Nice and creamy. Thick. But once the cheese sauce comes together, he adds the shallots back in with some salt, pepper, and smoked paprika. Stir it up again. Honestly, I feel like the shallots could have been cooked with the butter, so it adds in a little bit more flavor, but we're gonna go with this. The sauce is looking pretty excellent. Let's toss the pasta in. Hopefully it fits this pan. And let's transfer it into a baking dish. Not gonna lie, this mac and cheese is looking pretty good. And I think there is a healthy cheese to sauce to pasta ratio. Some people like to go overboard. This seems good. But now he tops his mac and cheese with more cheese and breadcrumbs. Let's pop this into the oven, and I think Christy Sarah's banana bread might be ready too. Whew, her banana bread actually looks really good, but does it stand a chance against Desmond's? I'm gonna let this cool a little bit longer, and we're gonna do a side-by-side taste test. And here's our mac and cheese. It's bubbly, crispy on top, and looks a little greasy, but good. I'm gonna let his cool down just a little bit while we try her banana bread. The banana bread is looking good. The edge pieces are always the best parts. Let's see what her first single recipe tastes like. This is actually really good banana bread. It's sweet, but not too sweet. The edges are still crispy. It's nice and moist. I think this mix is made with oat flour, and so it's healthy. All right, Desmond. Let's see if Christy's missing out or if she's gonna be a-okay. I'm not gonna lie, my mouth is salivating because this looks so creamy. It's just delicious. Let's get a piece of that crunchy cheese on top. I know Christy used a mix with her banana bread, but let me just say this one thing. They don't make box mac and cheese like this. This tasted like it came straight out of a high-end restaurant. He used truffle cheddar in his recipe, which already just elevates the taste of the mac and cheese. And then the shallot just added another level of depth into this. I love the crispy cheese and panko coating on top. I think it's a no-brainer. Desmond gets a seat at the dinner table. And now we move into our third drama of the year, and probably the most interesting. But Brooklyn Beckham has been rumored to be feuding with his family for a while now. But it went on full public display in January when he posted a multi-part Instagram story talking about how badly his parents did him wrong. And if you didn't know, his parents are the David and Victoria Beckham. Brooklyn laid out everything in the stories, from Victoria dancing inappropriately at their wedding, embarrassing Nicola, to how his parents are trying to control the narrative, and them being accused of putting the Beckham brand ahead of the family relationship. Now, I've seen the documentary, and I think David and Victoria are pretty funny. So I don't know how much of this is just Brooklyn being a typical spoiled child, but the internet formed their own opinion. We're all just waiting for the truth and that wedding dance video to come out. But in the meantime, Brooklyn is just trying to live his life, possibly using this press moment to push his new hot sauce, because tell me why, I've seen so many videos about this. And he's just in the kitchen cooking up some really interesting things like this chicken nugget parmesan. Yes, you heard right. Let's start with some ground chicken and season it with salt and pepper. I mean, was chicken breast not an option? Okay, once he mixes it, he balls it up and flattens it down into a patty. Looks like we're making a giant chicken nugget. And now he cracks 6 eggs just to coat the chicken, except he married a billionaire's daughter, and he's also a Nepo baby. He can afford that. I'm just gonna crack 3. Make that 2. We're gonna whisk it up, dunk in our chicken. He does this move where he shimmies it just to get it fully coated. That's not really working for me, so I have to flip it. Then he dumps out his breadcrumbs and there's not a spice in sight. Is he boycotting it because his mom's a spice girl? Okay, let's press it in and coat our patty. The shimmying method actually works for the breadcrumbs. Now, let's fry this up. Okay, let's heat our pan up with some oil in there, and once the oil's nice and hot, I'm gonna drop in my chicken nugget and let it brown. He spoons the oil on top. I don't feel like that cooks the top of the chicken very well, so I'm gonna flip mine. That could be why he didn't flip it. That oil is a little aggressive. Okay, the chicken's all done. Now we get whole peeled tomatoes and we're just gonna crush them with our hands. Again, no spices. He must be really sending a message. Now he tops the chicken nugget with that tomato sauce and adds what I can only describe as cheese noodles. I don't know where you get cheese that looks like that, but the best I can do is string cheese. Honestly, this could work pretty well. Looks pretty accurate. Now let's pop it into the oven and get it nice and brown. The string cheese actually worked out well. But then he tops his chicken parmesan with a sad looking basil. This looks pretty accurate. And then we're gonna grate some fresh parmesan right on top. All right, let's try this. This recipe was posted just a few days after his Instagram meltdown. We all went to his page for the tea, but instead got chicken nugget parmesan. Let's see how this tastes. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's definitely not a delicious chicken parmesan. Kind of flavorless, kind of bland. But let's see if his hot sauce is any good. I like the glass bottle. The packaging is cute. It starts off sweet, and then it gets spicy. And maybe that's just what it is. He doesn't like spice, but he likes things fiery. But let's explore the Beckham side. For the Beckhams, they haven't really spoken up about the whole drama, but they have appeared at a lot of events as a family, presenting themselves as a united front. Victoria just got honored in Paris with a French cultural knighthood, and David showed up with the rest of the family, all to support her together. But then Cruz and Romeo, Brooklyn's brothers, posted a TikTok kind of making fun of the whole situation. Super unbothered by everything, with a caption that said, "Imagine hating," but then it got taken down the next day. But good thing the internet never forgets, because I was able to locate that video here. And honestly, I genuinely didn't know that David Beckham was such a foodie, because now we're getting videos of him in the kitchen with Harper, Cruz, Victoria, filming him making delicious looking foods. So this one that he made on Instagram, cottage pie, really caught my eye. And he doesn't exactly share a whole recipe, but I can put 2 and 2 together. For the cottage pie, we're gonna start by browning our meat, and then once it's nice and brown, I'm gonna add in the onion, garlic, and carrots. I learned this technique from the Turkish pasta. The meat is nice and oily, so it's gonna basically fry up our aromatics. And I'll just cook this until it's nice and softened. So like I said, I wasn't able to find a recipe online, but there was an article that he talked about this cottage pie, and he said his secret ingredient is ketchup. And you know how much I love ketchup, a lot. And then you definitely need Worcestershire sauce, some broth, and we definitely need a little bit of thyme to spice up our life here. Cue the music. And I also spied with my little eye that he had some peas in his cottage pie, so we're gonna add that in too. Now he pours the meat mixture into a baking pan while Victoria trolls him. And I'm just gonna set this aside while we work on the topping. I already boiled my potatoes, but now I'm just gonna make some simple mashed potatoes with butter, salt, and milk. And let's mash it up. Might have needed a bigger bowl for this. I told you, the drama is messy. And honestly, we don't really know what happened at the wedding, what he said, she said. A lot of people are speculating this is all Nicola's fault, Brooklyn's wife, because she has done the same thing to the Hadids when she was dating Bella's and Gigi's brother. He also stopped talking to his family, so we are seeing a pattern. But regardless, as a parent, I would be devastated if my kids stopped talking to me. And you know what they say, food is the way to somebody's heart, and maybe they just need to enjoy a really good meal together, both of them cooking, and all can be happy. And now let's add the mashed potatoes on top of our beef mixture. It's so fluffy. Let's spread it out. And it doesn't look like he adds anything else on top of the cottage pie. So now we're gonna pop it into the oven until the top is nice and brown and bubbly. And here's our cottage pie. It looks so comforting and it smells incredible. I'm gonna go ahead and get a nice piece. This definitely isn't something I normally eat, so I'm excited. And you have your meat and potatoes in one. But the question is this gonna get a seat at our table, or will Brooklyn's chicken nugget parmesan? There's so many different layers of flavor in here. You get the savory beef, and then a little hint of sweetness from the ketchup comes through. And then the mashed potatoes are soft and fluffy, buttery. I'm gonna have to say the winner is also a no-brainer. Brooklyn's gonna have to work a little bit more on his chicken parmesan recipe, but the winner is gonna go to Sir David Beckham. And while we don't really know what happened behind closed doors, one thing's for sure. Hillary, Desmond, and the Beckham family make some pretty delicious food, and our table is set. Of course, this is all alleged, but let me know what you guys think. The tea is getting a little cold at this point, so if you guys like this video, go ahead and check out my other controversial celebrity video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!